Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Kernels of Truth, brought to you by Progress Kentucky. Thank you so much for joining us. This week, we continue to keep an eye on the Kentucky legislature. They are in day 57 of the 60-day session, just one more day before they adjourn for a 2-week veto break. This is really when the bad bills come fast and furious. We'll get an update from our co-hosts and also from our guest, Chris Hartman, the executive director of Kentucky's Fairness Campaign. Then we're going to close out with our call to action. But before we get into it, want to make sure that you are ready to help turn Kentucky purple as the bad bills pile up in the Kentucky House and Senate. It is clear that there's lots of work to do in our state to win better electoral outcomes for our commonwealth. We hope you'll support Progress Kentucky on our efforts to do just that. Make a contribution right now via our secure online website. Act Blue to help turn Kentucky purple. $5, $50, $500. It all adds up. And we'd love to have your support. So let's quick check in with our co-hosts. Let us know who you are, where you are, what are you protesting today? You there watching on the internet, feel free to share what you're protesting today. Any specific outrages you'd like to vent. Put in the chat and we can put it on the screen. So I'm Aaron. I'm coming to you from Lexington. My protest sign says, "Green jobs are good jobs." That's what I'm doing. All right, turn to our co-host, Doug. Doug, you there?
Yes, I'm here coming to you from Harrison County, Kentucky. And my protest sign, I'm not really a big protester when it comes to these signs. I like to attend protest. But anyway, my protest sign says, "Hurry up, tax day."
Getting a big refund. Can't wait for your refund. Is that what you're saying, Doug?
That's the sine die.
Oh, that day. Okay. Awesome. Excellent. Well, yeah, it can't come quick enough in that case. And special co-host back from a bit of a hiatus. Nema, you there?
I am here from lovely Lexington, Kentucky, on the northeast side of town, I believe is the correct side. Aaron, I'm not really sure, but my protest sign says, I've been away for a little bit, but my protest sign says, do we really need another Roadhouse movie? That is my protest sign. I've been really champed about this now for several days. And, there's so much more to be outraged about, but I figured, this seems like a great thing to be outraged about because at least it's so ridiculous and it's not really harming anybody. So yeah, that's my protest sign. How y'all doing?
Good. Welcome back. I mean, let's just be honest, like, Jake Gyllenhaal can he really like take the place of Patrick Swayze?
What's up with like the tattoos, like on the fake tattoos on his neck? I'm pissed every time that comes on, like the streaming stuff. I get,
and it comes on a lot. They are pushing that. Like, maybe your algorithm's different than mine, but like Amazon Prime wants me to watch that show.
Right? Didn't need it. Did not need a remake. Yeah, what about you, Doug?
Oh, I would agree it doesn't need a remake, but I don't know what the heck y'all talking about. I guess I should go check it out.
I'm going to check it out, mostly because I'm intrigued by Jake Gyllenhaal's abs.
Okay.
Let's be honest. Let's be honest. The neck tattoo, not so much, but he's clearly working out. All right. Welcome back. I know you've been busy. We've all been busy. And tonight we are going to focus in news of the week. What's on your list? What are you outraged by? What are you paying attention to? Nema, I know you've been kind of in the thick of it, while also juggling the demands of building a union. But you are an education advocate. You're a teacher's advocate. There's been a bunch of stuff happening in the legislature. I wanted to give you a chance to, again, air any grievances you might have about these bills.
I'll tell you, there was a lot of bills. I've never seen as many bills as I've seen this time around. It just seemed like there were so many, and they were just coming from all these different directions. And I'm sure that was, by design. We knew it was going to be brutal for the 60-day session. It always is. I think that there were some good things that we were able to accomplish. I think that there were obviously some bad things that happened in public education. And so far, let's not forget, it's never over until Sonny die, right? It's never over. And so, HB2, I think, is the one that we were mostly keeping an eye on. We advocated for things here and there, but it was really the DEI stuff and HB2 that we were really, really, really keeping an eye on. And obviously, HB2 is the constitutional amendment that would allow the legislators to basically pick and choose where this public school money would go. So, it's really interesting to me because I had seen, I don't know if anybody, I know, Doug, you watch a lot of the floor debates. And what I thought was really interesting about this bill in particular is the bill doesn't give parents a choice at all. Let's be clear. And this has been the whole premise behind vouchers, charters, funding, all this other stuff. What the bill does is it just gives the legislators a huge pot of money where they can then dispense it at will wherever they want to for these schools. So, you might think, hey, great, I'm in Harlan County and I'm going to get school choice down here. But then guess what? Womp womp. No, because all that's going to go to the Golden Triangle. And, these are the things that I don't understand. And what's so interesting, too, about this bill is that not only was I saying this is totally not parent choice, is that some of the Tea Party folks, the libertarian folks were agreeing. And so I found it really interesting that for the vote of this bill, they all fell in line and voted for this constitutional amendment, this version, to go through, especially whenever they were all belly aching over it before. I'm guessing a deal was made to get them on board, and we'll see if how all that shakes out. But that's my guess. We're going to beat this bill. We're not only going to beat it, we're going to beat it like we're going to beat it. We're going to beat it down. And hopefully this will put to rest this question of vouchers and, public money going to private schools, which is exactly what this is. This is a grift. And we've seen it happen time and time again. People will tell you, oh, choice, it's great, la, 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 la. This will decimate our rural schools. And if that's what Kentucky wants, I don't think it is. And so we're gearing up for that, Aaron. That's the real fight that we're looking for.
So that'll be on the ballot in November. So that's kind of a big focus there.
Yeah, that's going to be the biggest thing that we're focused on. Then we have SB2. I know we had talked about it a little bit, Aaron. I don't know what Max Wise is doing these days, but he has gone from, oh, no, I'm Mr. Middle of the Road to, oh, my God, I am a total conservative, shill. I don't even know what he's doing. Now, apparently, he's saying, let's put pastors in as counselors in the schools. Shocker. It's like no, nobody saw that coming a mile away because, this is legislators that we have, this group. It is, kind of like a monkey see, monkey do kind of thing, right? They're parroting off of other states all the time. There is no originality in Frankfurt. And it's really sad. And it really is offensive to people like me, who is a lifelong Kentuckian, who really values the fact that we're a little bit different and a little bit, unique. And so I guess my fellow Kentuckians have decided they just want to be Tennesseans. Hell, I don't know. But Max Wise has really gone over the top. I don't know what he's trying to do, y'all, but it's bad. Public education, obviously on the line again and again and again. That's why I'm telling people we got to get going again. We've got to go ahead and ramp up. We got to beat this constitutional amendment, and we really, really, really need to start running for our local school board seats, because we are hurting. And you saw it if you watched what was happening in Jefferson County yesterday when that audit came out. We have got to have people who will ask the questions, will hold people accountable, and we have to start putting people in positions of power in our school districts who don't hide things from their bosses. And let's be very clear, that's kind of what happened here, y'all. I mean, I read the report and it was damning. I mean, I've never seen anything like, I mean, I have, let's just say, but I've never seen it written down where people were like, holy crap, this really happened.
So can you give a little bit of like the backstory of what you're talking about? Because I didn't see the audit story. I'm sorry.
So that they had a bit of a transportation issue at the beginning of the year. And the school board in Jefferson County had had hired an external audit team to come in and go through it. This team basically said, listen, you've got the tools to do this job without throwing kids off buses. You've got this, you've got that. But there was a lot of things that were not that happened that were basically self-inflicted. Not inviting the transportation director to the table, to the meetings on purpose when you're talking about routes. That's high-level, petty, adult nonsense. And, and these are kids. I mean, they said that they'd lost like 8 million instructional minutes just this year from kids being. So see, there's a problem. There's a problem that can be fixed, but we all have to look at this and say, this is not about me. This is about the kids and what we can do for our communities. And there's a lot of systemic issues I think that we've all heard about in larger districts like Jefferson County and other counties. But to see it out on paper, guys, it was something. I mean, I was shocked. I've never seen we all kind of suspected, I bet they didn't get invited because they don't like them. I mean, it was just flat out there.
I mean, that's just malpractice, right? Like, what do you do?
And to see the board members' faces, JCPS board members, some of them have been on there a long time. And for them to go back and say, this snowball started rolling in 2017 and you all had a 3-way crash, because you were doing this, this, and this. You didn't listen to rank and file. They were telling you this. It was just very damning of what happens when you have a top-down system for these things. I mean, we can't keep doing it this way. And I hope people start really paying attention to it, because it could happen in any district at any time on any issue, because nobody is communicating with the people that are on the ground actually doing the work.
Yeah. So again, that plug, run for school board. We need accountable folks in there. People are going to hold their school districts accountable for sure.
Absolutely. Ask the questions.
You made a quick reference to SB2. So that's Max Wise's bill to bring in the school guardians. So, veterans who can carry guns. They won't be there for discipline. They'll just be there for, active shooters or whatever. But it just seems like a poorly thought out idea. I'm wearing my Red Moms Man Action shirts. I know they've been opposed to it. I saw our friend Kathy on maybe KET talking about it, or definitely testifying, I think, against the bill. So good that viewpoint was being shared, some common sense in the conversation. But it just seems like any excuse to bring more guns around. It's like,
that's what I don't get. Stuff. We don't need more guns in the schools. We don't. We need them out, right? We don't need to bring more in. I'm concerned about that. I'm really concerned about the pastors as counselors. Just think about this, guys. A few years ago, we were on the verge of banning conversion therapy in this state. And now we are bringing pastors in as counselors for kids and all these other things. I mean, what's happened to the spine of this commonwealth as far as the legislature is really disturbing to me. And I'm going to tell you, I was watching the Senate yesterday during the vaccination vote. And Doug, I don't know if you were watching that vote, but it came over me in a wave that how sad this once proud Senate actually looked during that debate. I mean, I got that feeling. It was sad.
I wholeheartedly agree. And And the worst thing about this, in my opinion, is we have Democrats and then we have Republicans. And on the Republican side, we had some conservative Republicans. And then all of a sudden, we've got a whole lot of ultra conservatives. And it seems like the conservatives are being taken over, eaten up by the ultra conservatives. And we've got to do a better job of getting candidates to run for Democratic seats. And we've got to win some of those elections.
Yeah, it was really, I mean, I guess to always at least given some sort of reverence to the Senate. I always felt like they at least ran their business, in a different manner and seemed a little bit more above the fray, right? It's like the House is always kind of the Wild West. You never know what you're going to get. But watching that yesterday and watching Givens stand up and really give it hell right on the floor about these vaccinations. And then to just watch, his colleagues that are in leadership right behind him just vote against him, like just be like, what, it was really sad. I mean, it really, really disturbing. And Don Douglas just getting up there, using his doctor card, and then he's being like, vaccines, who needs them? I mean, it was really, y'all, it was sad. I mean, I felt like we were watching the Senate fall to the far, far right on that vote.
Yeah. It's tough watching these folks for sure, and it seems very clear that like the liberty wing is ascendant, and as you said, Doug, like the super conservative voices are the ones that are really being heard right now and are being elected. And so we need to push back. We got a ton of other stories we're going to move into. Doug has got a laundry list of legislation, and then I want to talk a little bit about some good news for the Commonwealth from an economic perspective. That's the one. So Doug, what do you got?
Sure. I want to mention our bill tracker. It's labeled as the worst bills of the Kentucky General Assembly. It's there. It's being updated every day until the end of the session. It's probably going to be a long night tonight in both chambers. And if not, then expect this to be the norm on Thursday and perhaps Friday. April 15th is sine die and can't come too soon. And as Aaron mentioned, they got a couple days of the session left, and then there's a veto period. At the end of the veto period, though, they can still file some bills. I believe that HB 255, the child labor bill, and HB 367, the SNAP bill, may be dead unless the bills are revived by adding to another bill and pushing them through the process. And having said that, about 30 minutes ago, I received an email from the Kentucky AFL-CIO. It reads, Doug, in a last-minute attempt to pass this bad legislation, representatives in the Kentucky House are seeking to amend SB 369 to include the bad language of HB 255 in an innocuous Senate bill. And they ask you to contact your legislators to stop the attacks on Kentucky's children. SB 369 is an act related to education and labor cabinet reorganization. The amendments were proposed by Representative Mark Hart, who I presume is doing this on behalf of Representative Philip Pratt. Nema mentioned SB 2, and she also mentioned something about providing allowing certified pastoral leaders to be in schools. That was an amendment sponsored by Representative Josh Callaway, who is another ultra-right, conservative, white preacher. HB 509 is a bill that purports to provide greater access to open records, but in reality, this bill will allow boards, commissions, legislators to use private devices to conduct official business. As an example, a 9-member board can communicate on personal devices, make decisions, and then implement without the public being aware that potentially underhanded things are taking place. Amy Bentonhaver has been on a show a couple of times, I think. She is an advocate for open records and runs the Kentucky Open Government Coalition, which you can find on Facebook. She is a nationally known expert on open records. And here's a quote from her. "We strongly believe that the bill is, yet again, a solution in search of a problem and that it should be abandoned. We do not oppose the mandatory assignment of public email addresses, but vigorously oppose statutory limitations on agencies' search for and production of responsive records stored on private devices and personal accounts." And she continues, "And what about text messages on private devices which are not addressed in the current bill? So many unanswered questions, so many loopholes." Meanwhile, the Republicans supporting this bill continue to indicate this bill will allow for more transparency. You know, if you call a pig a beauty queen enough times, are people going to see that pig for the beauty queen or for what it really is? The next item I have is the HB Omnibus bill. This is yet another indication of the Republican ultra-conservative leaning legislature. This bill started out as a nonpartisan, both sides working together bill in the House, passing with a 90-0 vote. I note that the passes were both R's and D's. Maybe they weren't there. Maybe they didn't want to vote one way or the other. I don't know. I'm quoting from an article from Louisville Public Media by Morgan Watkins. "Once a bill was received in the Senate, amendments were proposed, including the addition of HB 467, which proponents include Adia Wuchner of the anti-abortion group Kentucky Right to Life. She has said the bill is focused on giving women options other than terminating their pregnancy. The bill's opponents include Tamara Weeder, the Kentucky State Director for Planned Parenthood, who warned the proposal would put a chilling effect on healthcare providers and discourage them from talking to patients with non-viable pregnancies about seeking an abortion out of state. Abortion is illegal in Kentucky unless the patient's life is at serious risk." Senator Chambers Armstrong said she was part of the working group that developed the omnibus bill and was excited to vote for it. "It had so many great things in it designed to reduce our maternal mortality, increase access to mental health resources, lactation support, doulas, all kinds of really wonderful things. But Chambers Armstrong doesn't support the provisions added from HB 467. She said they appear designed to try to coerce women who have pregnancies that have no chance of survival to stay pregnant." The Senate Health Services Committee unanimously agreed Thursday to clear the updated HB 10 to come before the full Senate for a vote. But the committee's only Democrats, Chambers Armstrong and Byrd, both told LPM they weren't aware that HB 467 had essentially been added to HB 10 when they voted to advance in committee. Shenanigans is the word. The way to combat is to vote Democrat in November. Our legislature is out of control, and the real possibility exists that our legislature will become even more conservative to the detriment of our society. Back to you, Aaron.
Yikes. Yeah, a lot of bad bills, a lot of bad ideas moving forward with speed and scale. You said something earlier. I wonder, I think it used to be that most lawmakers were lawyers, right? Because they brought a skill set to the table. They knew what they were doing. Now I feel like at least most GOP rural lawmakers are pastors. Like that's their actual, job. And it's just really, I think it just shows why we're going off track right now, at least with our rural lawmakers. I'm not against pastors, just to be clear. But, a pastor with a law degree gives me a little